I just want to, I would just want to close out of the Akashic Records for everyone um, with just a quick little prayer. I'd like to thank the master teachers and loved ones for their love and compassion. I'd like to thank the lords of the Akashic Records for their point of view. I'd like to thank the Holy Spirit of Light for all knowledge and healing. The records are now closed. Amen. The records are now closed. Amen. The records are now closed. Amen. Thank you. Thank you for allowing me to give those messages to you, and thank you for being open. All right. Shirley, it is so lovely to see you. I want to make sure that this was okay. So Shirley is without a Y. I did not actually put it in the production sheet incorrectly, just so you know. Hannah, I know you're trying to, you keep on top of all of my things. And so thank you for that. Shirley is without a Y. It's with an E on the end. And Shirley is coming to talk to us really about 4 steps to reveal your divine essence. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me, Leslie. It's an honor.
Oh, Shirley. And then you put it on your Zoom with a Y instead of just an E, and I just told everybody. So
no, it's confusing to me as well. Initially my legal name is with the Y, but for some reason, after I published my book, I dropped the Y. And that was like liberating for me. Because my mother named me. I never liked the name Shirley. I just didn't feel like a Shirley. And so my book is Conversations with the Little Girl Within, a journey of forgiveness, healing, and liberation from unresolved childhood issues. And so it's about my journey of resolving my unresolved childhood issues. And that was with my mom. And so I always had an issue with her in my name. And so after I was liberated from those emotional ties, I just dropped the Y.
And I love that.
Yeah.
I love that, Shirley, because it reminds us that we can just do it. We don't, if dropping the Y helps you to liberate that and move on from that, drop the Y.
Why not?
Exactly. We can do that. Thank you for sharing that, Shirley.
Thank you.
I love that. So, you're here to talk about, connecting, revealing our divine essence. But I also know that there is a story behind that. And you told us a little bit here, just to, in writing your book. But I'd love to hear a little bit more about, how you came to, being an expert in this, how you came to being so passionate about it.
My life's journey, essentially. My life journey brought me to this point where I am right now. And I didn't catch all of the last speaker in the conversation that went on, but the part that I caught was that everything that you do is a part of your journey. So it's no mistakes, it's no accidents, it's all relevant. And as I was growing up, I always knew it was something different about me. I didn't know what, but I always felt a spiritual connection throughout my youth into my adulthood. And I learned to trust that connection. I learned to trust that voice. And as I start developing and transitioning in my life, I understood what that voice was and how it was guiding me and protecting me from life and death situations that I experienced. And even a lot of the traumatic experiences that I've had. So it's just a process of evolution and developing and learning and testing what I was learning in the process to make sure that it was working and it resonated with me. I grew up in a Baptist church most of my youth. As an adult, I kind of got away from church because I looked at the way the people were in church compared to the way they were outside of church, and it didn't line up to me, and so that didn't resonate with me. And I went to school to get my bachelor's degree in Christian ministries because I studied Christian ministries. I was on the radio. I did a Christian talk radio show, and I was in school at the same time working on my bachelor's degree. And it was during that time while I was in school studying for a Christian ministries degree that I became spiritually awakened. Because during my studies of the Bible, what they were teaching didn't line up with what the Spirit was teaching me and showing me in these scriptures. And so I was doing the talk radio show, and I had people that would reach out to me to be a guest on the show to promote their books or, whatever they wanted to do to promote their events and activities. And I noticed that a lot of the guests were spiritually awakened, and they were talking about enlightenment and meditation. And that was curious to me. I'm like, what is this? And they all seemed so joyous and happy and full of life and full of the light, as compared to the Christians that seem to always have a dark cloud around them. And so it so happens that I had broken my wrist, so I wasn't able to do the engineering. So I just took a sabbatical. And that's when I started studying everything in the Bible that was written in red that Christ was supposedly have spoken. And it took about a year to complete that. And what I realized was that he was talking about a higher level of consciousness. He was talking about, it wasn't literal. He was talking about a whole nother dimension to life that was real, and he was living it. And then I started putting one and one together, and the guests that were coming on the show. So I just thought that started my transition out of Christianity, and I evolved through the Unity movement, Centers for Spiritual Living, and all of that just enhanced my energetic self to really, really, it helped my belief, it helped my understanding about who I was. It's not just what I look like, it's not just you're this person. I realized that it was more to me than met the eyes. And I wanted to learn more about that and develop it.
Beautiful. Beautiful. I love this sort of awakening that there's more than just we're being told.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Right? And being open to that. So you've got 4 steps here. 4 steps to reveal your divine essence. Let's talk about that.
So the first step, which is the most important one, is to understand and appreciate your divine essence. And that little story that I shared helped me to recognize and understand, yes, I'm not just a human being. I am a divine individual created in the image of the gods. And I really had to understand what that meant. The gods weren't a physical being as we humanize God to be. God is a spirit, it's an essence. And once we understand that, that's what we're created in. We're not just created as physical beings, we're created as universal beings to connect to the universal forces that govern this world to help us overcome the life challenges that we find ourselves in every day living a human life.
So I really love this, that we are, and I've heard, so many over the speakers, but we are divine in ourselves. Like, we are divine. We're not just this body walking around, we are divine, but we're also connected. The universe connects all of us through that divinity.
Absolutely. That's the common denominator in every single human being, living being on this earth, including animal and plant life.
Yes.
That divine essence, that pranayama, that life force energy that's in all of us, regardless of our economic status, regardless of our education, regardless of where we grew up at. That's the common denominator in every single human being.
Divine essence.
And divine essence. And it's also about understanding that's your identity. That's who you are. And so that process, the program that I've developed, helps people to understand how to identify themselves with that that nature with their divine essence, and not so much rely on who we see in the mirror, the man in the mirror or the woman in the mirror, because it is more to us than meets the eyes, essentially.
Right, right. There is more to us than what we see.
Absolutely.
Yes,
Absolutely.
I love that. I love that. So let's keep going with this. What are some more steps for us to
And
really
so
that?
step 2 is about developing your divine essence. And once you understand who you are as a divine being, that's like that's a culture shock to a lot of people. And so it's like, well, I have all these other responsibilities, I have all these other areas of my life. So how does all of this fit together? And one of the things that I learned on my journey is that my life is a puzzle. Every time spirit leads me somewhere, and I used to say I have to follow the breadcrumbs that spirit drops, no matter how weird it seems or how out of alignment it seems. I had to learn to trust that process. And that was part of developing my divine essence. Once I learned to trust the guidance of the inner voice inside of me, it was no competition. Nothing that anyone said could compete against that. If spirit said no, it was no. If spirit said green and everybody in the world is saying red, it's green. And so developing your divine essence involves studying. It involves like starting to journey, to journal. It's about connecting now. You want to connect to that divine source so you can tune in and hear that voice and understand what the voice is. I mean, people who aren't seekers have heard the voice. They call it, well, something inside told me not to do this. I wish I had to listen, or this little voice inside my head. Well, it's really the voice in your heart, but it'll drop down to your heart from your head at some point. But developing your divine essence is about fine tuning. It's like your antenna is out of frequency. The old fashioned televisions that had the antenna and you had to turn it, to get a good. That's what developing your divine essence is all about. It's fine tuning because you want to hear the voice of God inside of you. And when the voice of God speaks to you, it's not. It's like I like to say, people talk about the designer originals, the Gucci's, the all Pradas, and all of that. Well, we're a divine original. So my journey to get here is not the same as your journey to get here or anyone else's journey, because spirit knows who we are since we're created in spirit's image, and we're here. Well, I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself on this one, but I get excited when I talk about this.
That's
And
okay.
I'm so glad to have the opportunity to do that. But we're here for a purpose and a mission. People always talk about, well, what's my purpose in life? I don't know what my purpose in life is, but what I surmise is that our purpose in life is to awaken to our divine essence. That's what our purpose is. Kids up until the age of about 7 years old are still spiritually connected to the heavenlies. You have kids that'll sit there with their little tea parties, playing and talking, having live conversations with their imaginary friends. Some of those indigo kids are actually seeing angels and probably other relatives that have crossed over. Okay, so they're still connected. And so subsequently, as a result of them transitioning and evolving in life and going through, the family life and growing up, we lose sight of that. And so our purpose is to reestablish that connection back to the source of life, be it God, whatever you want to call that source and force of your life. That's what our purpose is. Now, the mission is what is a job that we're here to do. Like, you're on your mission, doing your job, doing your thing. I'm doing my thing my way. So that's what our mission is. So we all, again, have that common denominator as far as our purpose is concerned. And
I
so
love this. I
yeah,
love
and so
this.
and developing that, you do that through journaling because it gives you a chance to get quiet and listen to that voice as it's speaking to you, and then take note of what's being said. Another thing that helped me to make that connection was like I didn't have a lot of new age music because I love music. And so just listening to a lot of the spiritual songs, the Christian songs, or even like instrumental music and um, Beethoven and Bach, anything that's going to connect to your soul to give you that loving feeling. So those are the things that you want to do to develop your divine essence.
I really want to reiterate this, Shirley, because I think, well, there's a whole bunch of important things that have come out of that. But there, I've heard this a few times throughout the last 2 days is, be ready to receive those messages in whatever the way they come. Sometimes you hear it, sometimes you feel it. I know Sherry said that. Sometimes it's an energy, sometimes it's a knowing. There's always that it comes, but recording it is so important
Mhm.
because we forget. We move on with things and we forget. So recording, so journaling is a really important part of this to remember the messages that we're receiving.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And then once you tune in, you'll notice that spirit will start because the whole purpose is for us to overcome the life challenges that we deal with every single day. And to me, the spiritual journey is also a journey of self improvement in all areas of our life, because even though we have this purpose and this mission, we're still dealing with earthly and worldly responsibilities. And so
Mhm.
that puts us in environments with people who are antagonistic against the light. Okay. That's a battle that you're going to struggle with in step one and in step two. So by step three, which is step three, is about optimizing your life. And so that's going to include letting go of some people, letting go of some things that no longer serve your highest good. Because now you really want to isolate yourself because of all the psychic energy that's going to be coming towards you. And it's going to come from your family. It's going to come from your friends. People are going to say, well, what's wrong with you? You changed. Something's different about you. You're going to have power. You're going to feel empowered and have a little more confidence in yourself. And so basically that's what optimizing your life is about. It's about starting to enhance your life to fully embody this new belief that you have about who you are.
I love that, and it's fascinating to me. It's never a surprise, but always so fascinating to me that while I was in the Akashic Records, that this was exactly the message that we were being given is to, embody that truth, speak that truth. And yes, things will fall away, but they're not meant to be part of this journey with you anymore,
Absolutely. That's the refining process.
right?
And you're going to let go of some people, and some people are going to automatically let you go as well. Let them go. Their season is up.
I love that. Let them go. Their season is up. I often will say, I let you go with light and love. There is just, it's time. It's time to move on. So I love that. Their season is done.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's also optimizing your life is also about really working on you, working on your attitudes, working on those little idiosyncratic behavioral things that
Yeah.
keep you stuck in your situation. And things are going to start coming up. Emotional things are going to start coming up. And it's probably during that process when I started having all these emotional concerns about my childhood. It's like, I'm such and such age. Why am I worried about this? But that was part of my spiritual evolution, my spiritual growth, because you have to deal with those issues in order to be whole and complete and your life filled with joy.
I love that.
And so that also includes like making changes. Like you can't continue to hang out with the girls and go to the club, the Chippendale clubs and watching all those vulgar things on television. And they don't necessarily have to be vulgar, but a lot of the programs on television now, I mean, it's scary. It's gruesome, it's murder, it's torture, it's just craziness. And I tell people a lot of times, well, have you seen this on television? You watch that program? No, because I don't want to put that psychic energy in my spirit, because I'm trying to grow, I'm trying to evolve, and I'm trying to keep my spirit energized and uplifted. And all that does is vexes my spirit. It puts you, it just contributes to you being fear-based about everything in your life. It keeps you depressed because you're constantly listening to all of this negative news. And it's like, if I need to know something, spirit will say, turn on the radio, turn on the television, or go to the bookstore, or look here, or look there.
You know, it's very, Sherry has said this too. She's just said this. I made a choice several years ago not to watch the news anymore. And I know that growing up, it was what you watched, at night. It was what you watched before supper was on at 6. And then, and my parents had the news on. You had to watch the news. And I made a choice because you're right. I didn't want to hear all of that all the time. And you're right. Somebody will let you know if there's something that you really need to know. You'll find it out. So you don't need to watch the news to find that out.
No, not at all. And also here's another thing that I found that was important in this optimizing your life is we have to be mindful of the words that come out of our mouth and understand the power that those words have. Words are spiritual containers that you're projecting out into the universe. If you're always walking around saying, oh, I'm so sick and tired, girl, I can't stand that, and you wonder why you can't get past that, change, because you're telling the universe, well, I can't stand that, so give me more of what I can't stand. Or I'm sick and tired, so give me more of I'm sick and tired. So we have to be really mindful of that. We have to put a watch gate over our ears, the things that we listen to, over our eyes, and over our mouth. That's how all that stuff creeps in and vexes your spirit and
Right.
defeats your purpose to operate as best you can in your highest, as your highest and best self.
Yes. Yes. I do agree wholeheartedly that words are so important, and I think that we don't always understand the importance of making sure that we're being careful with what we're saying. Now, I just want to just give a little bit of a warning that we're coming to the end here, Shirley.
Mm.
So I want to make sure we get your last points in there.
Okay, and so the last step is actually revamping your life. So that, I mean, if that means you have to move out of one neighborhood and move away from those people who are not following the light because they're detrimental to your spiritual growth, then you need to do that. You need to adjust your life accordingly, no matter what. And then trust the process, trust the spirit, the essence inside of you to lead you where you need to be. And that when you get there, everything that you need to sustain you will be there waiting for you.
There is
And that takes
definitely
that takes courage.
It does. It does. And there has definitely been this thread throughout many of our speakers talking about the trust and understanding that there is this continual expectancy that everything is working out in exactly the way it's supposed to be,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
trusting that. And so I love that you talked about that again, Shirley, because it's so important that this is such a part of our journey to get where our mission, our purpose,
Absolutely.
like you
Absolutely. Because
talked
I think
about.
sometimes we have expectations that are here and we're still down here. And we get anxious because we want to be up here. But it's a process. And you have to trust that process because the commitment is important also because we definitely veer off the course during the course of our journey.
Yes.
But staying on the path and staying focused and just trusting, oh, I messed up. You just get back up and you start brush yourself off and you start all over again. Pick up where you left off at.
I love that because you can change. That's
Yeah.
You know, that's the thing. When we go off the path, we can change. We can get back on it again. It's okay. And sometimes the path changes. Right?
Absolutely.
And so
Absolutely.
that's okay too. All of it is part of the journey and part of fulfilling your purpose and your mission. I love that.
Yeah.
So,
And
Shirley,
then lastly, it's, the action step for revamping your life is just creating a blueprint for your life. And if you need to seek spiritual counseling, do that and surround yourself with people who are like-minded, who are headed in the direction that you're headed.
who are
So thank
aligned with your
you. Yes,
integrity, right? Love that, Shirley.
absolutely.
Thank you. Now you have a free gift for us. Uh,
Yes, I do.
yes, the 4 steps to reveal your divine essence ebook.
Did I put the link in there for that? I may have to give you the link.
We have the link. Yep,
Oh, you
we've
have the
got the
link?
link
Okay.
here. So if
Okay.
anybody can just, if you guys, once you download it, just let us know it's working. So we know that we've got the correct link. Please, just put it in the chat that got it or anything like that. So we know that that link is working. So tell us a little bit about this gift.
It's an ebook that I created a couple of years ago to outline the 4 steps to reveal your divine essence. Mostly, it was dictated through spirit. I'm working on a new edition of it, but it explains the steps in more details and gives you some tasks that you can do to complete as well. It's about
Beautiful.
19 pages.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that beautiful free gift. Now I know you have a VIP gift as well, right, Shirley?
Yes, I'm offering a 1 hour spiritual coaching session to anyone who signs up for the VIP program.
Wonderful. So, I just keep shaking my head at the generosity of our speakers on what they're offering, both for free gifts and for VIP gifts. So if you want to take advantage of the VIP gifts, it's over $3,500 worth. One of them is an individual session with Shirley. You get all the recordings, lifetime access to the recordings for $47. It's I think Patricia said it yesterday, for all of this knowledge and experience that you're getting from all of these speakers, $47 is a drop in the hat when you look at
Mhm.
that. So upgrade, and it's at I'll put that in. It's at riseup-summit.com. You can upgrade there for $47. Oh, there it is. So thank you so much, Shirley. We have up next. This one I'm right on this time. It's Hannah. My lovely daughter is coming up next to share with us, and the title of hers is called "Call Your Mom," and so I know it will be awesome and wisdom filled for all of us. But Shirley, before we go to Hannah, please just, what's one last thing you'd like to leave us with?
Trust the process is what's coming up in my spirit.
Mm,
Trust the process.
trust the
Yeah.
process. And
You're here with the purpose to fulfill your mission. So however you need to get there, just trust the process. All things are working together for your good.
beautiful. All things are working together for your good. Thank you so much, Shirley. Thank you for sharing your wisdom with us and your delightful energy. Thank you so much. It was such a pleasure having you with us.
Thank you for having me, Leslie. I appreciate you and what you're doing for the community.
It's absolutely my pleasure. It's absolutely my pleasure. All right. So I know Hannah's been having a little bit of challenges with her computer. So let's see if we can get her on here. Okay. If you hold on a second, I'm just going to bring her right out here and she's just going to talk to me right here beside me. Oh, hold on a second. I'm going to go get her. It just started working. Okay, just come out if you want. Okay. I just got it working. You just got it working. Okay, we're having some challenges, but bring a chair over. You're going to see us talk right here. So if you haven't seen Hannah yet, Hannah is the one that's been in the background, making sure everything's running smoothly and keeping us on
Oh.
time. And as you can see, we may be related. Yeah,
Maybe.
maybe. This is my daughter, and she wants to talk to us a little bit about, and honestly, when you talk about following your intuition, she changed her subject this morning. And she said, you know what, that's not calling to me, Mom. I want to change it. I said, are you sure? And she said, yes. And so the title is Call Your Mom. That's right, isn't it? Call Your Mom.
Yeah.
Yes. And so we're going to talk a little bit about friendships. We're going to talk a little bit about grief. We're going to talk a little bit about letting things go. But to start all that off, this is, she is just about 20. She's my youngest. This is my baby. And I can tell you, in me changing things for myself and starting to focus on the things that made me passionate, it opened up Hannah to start doing that for herself. And I'm telling you, she is doing that. She is doing great things in this world, and I'm so proud. She's a beautiful, wise old soul. So tell all of us a little bit about what brings you to want to talk about what we're talking about today: friendship, grief, letting go, and moving forward.
Well, pretty much all of that has to do with how my 2023 went.
Ah,
I had a rough year last year. I lost a lot. I learned a lot, and I loved a lot. So I'm coming out of all of those lessons, all of those losses, and learning how to further um, teach as well as continue to learn.
So tell us a little bit. I know you've skimmed over that, but I know there's some things that are going to be a little challenging to talk about that happen in 2023 that lead you to want to share this with us. Can you talk a little bit about that?
So I wanted to start off by talking about a day that I remember in vivid color. It's October 11th, 2023. I remember I was in Brandon, Manitoba in university. I was over 1,000 kilometers away from home. Where I was, I had no friends, I had no family. I was physically on my own. Everyone was a phone call away, but physically I was alone. October 11th, 2023, I remember getting up, getting a pierogi pizza from the cafeteria over there, and I remember it was burnt on one side and still frozen in the middle. I remember being so excited to eat it, and then I got to the middle and I was like, really? I remember going downstairs to the mailroom, opening my mail, and then seeing a card. And I knew immediately from the handwriting, I was like, this is from Grandma. My grandma, your mom. My birthday was exactly 6 days before that, so October 5th. So I was so excited it finally came in. She asked me like every single time that I called her if it had come in yet. And I was like, it's finally in. So I get a text at 2:07 from Mom saying, do you have a second? Can I FaceTime you with Grandma? And I was like, sure, I have the time. That FaceTime, and you know how much I love the number 6, lasted exactly 6 minutes. And I got to tell her that I got her card, and she was so happy. And well, I guess I should explain. She was in the hospital at the time. I think she had just been admitted earlier that week, I think.
Mhm.
And so she wanted me to, you felt this, you told me you felt this push to have her talk to all of us, so all your kids. And so I got 6 minutes with her. And I remember thinking, well, Mom doesn't know this, but she's gonna see me tonight. Because it was Thanksgiving weekend. I was like, I'm gonna surprise everyone. I'm gonna come home 2 days early because my original flight was on the Friday. I was like, I'm gonna come home 2 days early and I'm gonna surprise everyone. I get to the airport, I get on the flight. I have two kids in front of me. One of them is like repeatedly slamming into the back of his seat and it almost hits me in the head. It's a great flight. Um, the lady beside me, she's so lovely. She goes over to the dad of the family and asks them to quiet it down. I get off the plane. I get to the Calgary airport. My sister's on the other side of the airport, so I have to run all the way over there because, of course. And my nephew spots me. He gives me a huge hug. I see my sister. The first thing she says is, "Well, it took you long enough."
Just like a sister.
Yep. Then, of course, she parked in the garage because she wanted to see me and she wanted my nephew to see me. We get down in the garage, we get in the car, and she asks me, do you want to go see grandma tonight? I feel like we should go see grandma tonight. And I said, no, I'll see her tomorrow. It's fine. I'm gonna see her tomorrow. Like, and she's like, I don't know. I feel like we should see her tonight. I'm like, I'll see her tomorrow. It's okay. It's okay. We don't have to rush this. And she goes, I don't know. I just feel really weird because, like, you're coming in town. My big sister was coming into town. I think your brother, your uncle, my uncle, I think he was already planning on coming into town. So she was like, I feel like something's gonna happen. And I'm like, no, we're all here to help her get better. We're all here to heal her. That's what we're here for. We're not here for anything bad. So she goes, yeah, that's right. I think you're right, Hannah. So we go to McDonald's because we always do after the airport. And then I get home, I surprise you.
I wouldn't open the door because I didn't know who it was. I wasn't expecting them. So it took them a few minutes to even, because my husband knew and he's like, check what's other. I'm like, no, somebody's knocking on our door. I'm not checking. You check. You're the, you can stop it. So I finally answered it and it was her.
I remember we had a bit of a chat and then I went to bed. October 12th is a day that I remember in bits and pieces. I remember being woken up at like 5 a.m. I remember throwing on my Brandon University hoodie and my leggings. I remember being in the car and hearing you on the phone, leaving voicemails for people. I remember the stoplight where I told you that I wanted to change my major to anthropology. I remember little flashes of the hospital room. I remember my sister falling to the floor, sobbing in grief. And I remember grabbing my phone and putting on Coco Melon for my nephew so that he would be distracted. I remember driving home, calling the tattoo place because I had an appointment for a tattoo consultation, saying, sorry, I can't make it. My grandma passed and I can't drive into Airdrie right now. And they were like, okay. So I barely remember that day, but I do remember 6:50 a.m. texting my two best friends in the world and saying, she's gone. And only one person answered me. And she messaged me and she said, hey, I'm so sorry. If you need to call me, if you just want to come over and just sit in silence for a little bit, if you just need to get away, you'd let me know. And I was like, oh, that's a friend. That's someone that if I was going through the worst part of my life, I know they would do whatever it took to make sure that I was going to be okay, and I know that I would do that for them. My other friend didn't message me until like 10 p.m. and then we don't talk anymore, but that was a day that I kind of learned the people that I want in my life because my friend hates driving in Calgary. She said it to me once. The only reason she would ever drive into Calgary because she lived in Airdrie would be if it was an absolute emergency. And I remember messaging her and saying, hey, you don't have to. You absolutely don't have to. But I would love it if you could come to my grandma's celebration of life. And she said, I will do my best to be there. And I was like, I mean, it's okay if you don't show up. You don't have to. And she showed up. That was, it was one of my first ever funerals, well, celebration of lives. And I sat in the front row. So I was incredibly thankful and lucky that my friend got to sit beside me. So I had someone behind me to give me a pat on the shoulder when I needed it. And it hadn't really sank in until my sister started speaking about how she was never going to be there for my sister was getting married in a couple months and my grandma was supposed to officiate the wedding. She was never going to be there to hold her children when she had them. And
She's pregnant right now, by the way.
my sister,
Not this one.
my sister.
The eldest.
And that was when it kind of finally I got through that denial and I fast-tracked anger and I sort of went to depression. It was this overwhelming feeling of how am I going to do this? I went back to Brandon a couple weeks later and I did not cope. I look back and I'm really not proud of the work that I did. And I know that I was grieving and I was dealing with a lot in my personal life. And I look back and I'm like, I try not to be ashamed because we all make mistakes and we're not perfect, but moving through that was one of the hardest things that I have ever done. 2023, I had also lost another friend due to just some personal stuff we were having. A friend that I'd had since grade 9 that, stayed on the phone with me while I was, going through some of the worst times in my life where I was like, I don't know if I can do this another day. She stayed on the phone with me. And losing her was really hard because even though she had not been a good friend after that, she was still someone that was there for me. So 2023, I lost 2 friends and I lost one of my support columns. So I'm still moving through that grief and I'll still be moving through that grief for years to come because grief is very much like a game of pinball. You don't just go through all the different parts of it. It's not linear. You pinball through it. But it's finding the people in your life and the title of my talk is called Call Your Mom because there's a song that I'm sure it's going to be at the top of my Spotify Wrapped called Call Your Mom by Noah Kahan. And the song basically speaks about if I knew that it would save you, if I knew that it would be the push that you needed to be okay, to live another day, I would call your mom, even if it meant that I wouldn't be in your life anymore. Even if it meant that our friendship would be over, I would call your mom to make sure that you were okay. Those are the kind of people that you want to surround yourself with. And I hate that it took that for me to recognize those people in my life. But recognizing your support system and the people that you want to support is so important. My friend and I went for coffee a couple months ago, and she was saying, like, right now, if I had actually had a baby, because there was a whole thing with that. If I'd actually had a baby back then, I would have a 2-year-old. I would have a one-year-old right now. And I was like, oh, well, that would have changed my life. And they're like, why would it have changed your life? And I'm like, well, because I probably would have stayed. I probably would have stayed in Calgary. I would have stayed here for you because I care about you and I want to make sure that you're okay. And my friend was like, oh, and I was like, well, you would do the same for me. You literally you you were there for me throughout everything. And we kind of had a moment where we were like, oh yeah, I would do that for you. I would be there.
You know, when we started to talk about changing your subject, because it was about grief and persevering, we talked about this piece of this importance of that we grieve people even though we knew we needed to let them go, or at one point they were important to us. We grieve that even when it wasn't always good. And then it's important to allow yourself time to grieve that loss, whether it's a loss from losing somebody to death, or choosing to move on from somebody because they're not good for you and where you're going. And this is such an important thing to share. And honestly, I'm just trying to keep myself together here, but
My nose is running a little bit.
the courage that you have to share this, um, because even as adults, and I know you're officially an adult, but even as older adults, these are hard things to let go of people that aren't good for us. And you're learning this at this age, and it is a lifelong process of learning of who to let go. Thanks, Ryan. I love that. Thanks for that little props to Hannah. Um, that this is so important. That realizing this at a young age is so important to really realize who is there for you and who is important. And I must say, there was really this moment when I didn't know that my mom was going to pass that next day on the 12th, but I had that feeling that it was really important that everybody talked to her. And it lit my mom up to talk to her. I have 3 girls, her 3 granddaughters from me, but it also gave Hannah the ability to know that she was able to tell my mom, I got your card. You meant something to me. And I can't tell you how happy that made her on that day to hear that and to spend that time. So sorry to interrupt you,
It's okay.
Hannah. I just, these are such important lessons that we all need to hear.
I was looking at the timestamps because I was curious, the timestamps of that conversation. And I looked and it was exactly 6 minutes. And I was like, 6 minutes? 6 as in like my lucky number? So, I mean, that it felt pretty validating, I will say, that it
Yes.
was 6 minutes. Um, but I just remember my sister and I were talking about it again. I'm the one that said that we should go see her, and she said, I wish we would have seen her that night. And I said, as much as I absolutely hate to say it, because I would have loved to see her one more time, I'm glad we didn't. Because I feel like that would have made passing so much harder for her. And I didn't want her to fight. I want her to fight, but I didn't want her to go in pain, is what I mean. I didn't want her to fight and live in pain. It was making the choice of saying, you know, it's okay to let go right now, instead of staying for us. I'm selfless enough to say, you can go.
Isn't that what these important relationships are, though. And being able to say, it's okay to go, it's okay to grow. In fact, I support you with that.
It's the same thing with losing my friends. It was, this isn't causing me happiness, this is causing me pain, so I have to let you go. I love you so much, and it hurts, and I have to let you go because of that. And 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 that's okay, because we will find the people that make us happy and healthy, and the people that we want to help make happy and healthy, because it's a two-way street.
It absolutely is. Sorry, I'm used to you doing this, so I'm
I
trying
know.
to.
Do you need a hand with anything?
I'm good.
Okay.
I got this.
Do you want me to talk about that? Don't send it to me. Send it to everyone. I got it.
That's what happens when I'm trying to do that. Okay. So as I could sit and I could listen to you talk about this for a long time, and these lessons that you're learning and that you share with me, and I'm so privileged that you chose me as your mother.
Don't do that.
I honestly
I'm
am.
really gonna cry.
I am so privileged.
If you
And
cry, I'm gonna cry.
okay, I'm not gonna cry. So Hannah has a free gift for all of us here. And, I said to her, "Are you sure that's what you want to do?" And she said, "Absolutely. This is what I want to do." So tell us a little bit about your free gift.
So I have for you guys a free 3-card. It can be tarot or oracle. At the time, I only had my oracle cards, but I found my tarot ones. So it's just a 3-card reading, pretty standard. It's finding the way to get your best possible outcome for a situation, if you have a specific situation in mind, just for life. I know some people, they're like, "Ooh, I want to find love," or or I have a situation that I need enlightening on. So or we can just let spirit, whatever you want to call it, guide us to figuring out what it is that we need to hear.
Love that. Thank you so much for your generosity with your free gifts. So please, if you can just let us know that that's working, and and book the time with her. She's done quite a few readings for me. I'll say, "All right, I need a card reading," and she'll sit with me and definitely give me that information that I need. Now,
I'll do it later.
you also have a VIP gift for us, my dear.
So this is a 5-card evaluate and elevate your life. So it's sort of where we're going to choose either if you have stuff in mind, or we can let, again, spirit choose for us. We are going to find the 5 facets or parts of your life, whatever you want to call it, that you want to work on, and we're going to draw a card for each of those, and then we are going to come up with a plan to evaluate your situation, and then elevate your life.
Beautiful. Now, here's the thing, you've heard me say it. This is another incredible gift. And we have so many of them, over $3,500 worth from our speakers for our VIPs, plus all the recordings. You get to come back and cry with us if you like, for a lifetime. And it's only $47. And we're going to put it in the chat here when we've got a moment. But you just go to www.riseup-summit.com and you can upgrade there and you'll get all of that. Now, some people might ask, because I haven't said this yet, give us a little bit to edit the videos and upload them. It'll take a little bit before you get all those, but we usually have it within 10 days to 2 weeks. Do I put that pressure on us? But we'll have it, but we'll get it out to you with all those beautiful gifts from everyone, from all the speakers. So it is here, it's 1:11. So we got some 3 1s going on.
Yeah.
Um,
3 times 2 is 6.
3 times 2 is 6. There you go. And there's 2 of us here. Yes.
13, 11.
13, 11. Okay.
There. Sorry, I had to throw that in there.
We're numbers people too. And if you're looking for messages, they can come in all ways. Sometimes numbers are a way that they come. So we're coming up to the end of our time here. What's one last thing you'd like to leave us with?
You are worthy of finding people and having people in your life that make you feel as good as you make them feel. You are worthy to have people in your life that elevate your life.
Mm.
You don't have to be in pain. You can be happy.
I love that because you're worthy of having people in your life that do what you do for them. You don't always have to be the one that gives. You don't always have to be the one that gives everything. You're worthy of having people that give back to you. Thank you for that lovely wisdom, my dear. We have coming up Raya Banerjee, stopping negative self-talk to start positive self-growth is next. Thank you, Hannah. I can't say how, proud I am of this, She's a pretty good egg, this one.
I got it from someone.
Thanks.
Your mom.
I'm really proud of her, and I'm so glad that you took the confidence to speak with us today, because this was important. So thank you for that.
I've
Now-
never really spoken about that before. Okay.
No, you haven't. So thank you for that. Now you're going to go back behind the scenes again. Now you have a face to the name of who's been kind of keeping us on track and keeping us going. So, all right. Thank you, Hannah, for sharing such a beautiful thing. And guess what? I need to stop the recording.